Hello, everybody. Thank you for returning to our YouTube channel. I am Brian with Technology United for Ukraine. And as you know, we are partnered with the Ukrainian Armed Forces through a unit called the Birds of Fury. They are Ukrainian military R&D group that we work with to develop innovative technologies for the Ukrainian Armed Forces. If you're an engineer, scientist, technologist, or anybody who wants to help out with fundraising or social media, please, the link is in the description. Come join us. All right, so I want to get into what exactly is going on with the funds for Ukraine now that Trump is president. So what is Trump going to do with funding Ukraine? Let's get some clarity. All right, so there's a bit of misunderstanding about that. Trump's aid freeze leaves weapons flowing to Ukraine. In one of his first acts as president, Donald Trump froze all foreign aid for 90 days, but Kyiv may dodge the worst of that action, Ukrainian officials said Tuesday. In terms of budget funding, we're secured. Biden's administration transferred all the funds under the ERA initiative, $50 billion to the World Bank. So the funds are already with the World Bank. So they're there for Ukraine. It belongs to Ukraine. So they can't affect that. And also we got to understand some of what the funding isn't necessarily money, right? It's things like older Bradley vehicles and M1 Abrams. Old parts that we're sending over for them to replace, stuff that we are likely not using in our current configuration of our units and strategic concepts nowadays. It's just old mothballed equipment. So that also is something I think people don't understand. Now, let's go further on. Ukraine's military aid will also not be affected as Trump's executive order applies to international assistance under the development programs of the United Nations agencies, peacekeeping initiatives, and refugee support programs, the Ukrainian State Disinformation Countering Center said. So, what they're going after by freezing these funds is really not in line with what has been going on with Ukraine. So even in its definition, they're not going to be targeting Ukraine. These are for totally different initiatives. So we'll have a lot of peace of mind there that, they're not going to cut aid off tomorrow or anytime in the future. So I think we can rest assured, along with NATO now stepping up their funding, there'll be a lot of ability for the Ukrainian armed forces to continue their offensive and defensive actions. Not good for the Russians. All right, let's get into the losses of the Russian military. As of January 22, 2025, the amount of Russian forces that have expired on the battlefield or because of the battlefield has hit 823,980, with 1,950 being added. Wounded has hit 2,471,940. That is a massive number. Armored combat vehicles, 20,485 with 8 being added. Tanks, 9,844 with 11 being added. And artillery, and this is really the critical one here, 22,194 with 60 being added. Now I'm going to go to, and by the way, this comes from the Ukrainian military, not for me. I did not make this. Some people think I made it. This is another chart put out by the Ukrainian military, and this is an interesting number that has really skyrocketed, and it's vehicles and fuel tanks, and it's at 155. That's what just got added to it. And I've seen this every day in the hundreds, and it's really gone up a lot since the war began. I mean, this is going through the roof. And I think what it is they're targeting these fuel vehicles. It's just my opinion, because we know they're hitting the fuel depots in Russia, staging points near the front lines. They're just hitting the fuel as hard as they can. And now by taking out these fuel trucks, I mean, your logistics is going to be paralyzed after that. So interesting, and I think very effective strategy that the Ukrainians are using. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming by and checking us out again. Like, share, subscribe, and remember, come join us. Links in the description. Check out the Birds of Fury. They're an interesting group. Slava Ukraini.